In the small coastal town of Greyhaven, where fog clung to the cliffs like a shroud, Clara Wren disappeared on a Tuesday evening in October. She was 29, a librarian with a penchant for old maps and a quiet life. Her absence was noticed when she didn't show up to open the library the next morning. By noon, the town was buzzing with whispers. Clara lived alone in a cottage overlooking the sea, its whitewashed walls weathered by salt and wind. Her neighbour, Mrs. Harrow, swore she saw Clara the night before standing at her window, staring out at the ocean. She looked like she was waiting for something, Mrs. Harrow told the sheriff, her voice trembling. Or someone. The sheriff, a pragmatic man named Hollis, searched Clara's cottage. Inside, everything was orderly, books neatly shelved, a half-finished cup of chamomile tea on the kitchen counter, her coat still hanging by the door. The only oddity was a single page torn from an atlas left on her desk. It showed a map of the North Atlantic, with a red circle drawn around a spot 50 miles offshore, a place where no land existed, just endless water. Clara's disappearance wasn't the first strange event in Greyhaven. The town had a history of unexplained losses. In 1953, a fisherman named Eli Cobb vanished after rowing out to sea. In 1987, a teenager named Sarah Lyle walked into the fog and never returned. Locals spoke of the Greyhaven curse, a vague legend tied to the town's founding in the 1700s, when a shipwreck left survivors stranded on the cliffs. Some said the sea demanded tribute, claiming souls every few decades. Hollis dismissed the curse as superstition, but couldn't ignore the pattern. He interviewed Clara's few acquaintances. Her co-worker, Tim, said she'd been distracted lately, often staring at the ocean from the library's bay window. She'd mutter about finding the way back, Tim recalled. I thought she was just tired. A search party scoured the cliffs and beaches. Divers checked the waters near the harbour, but the currents were treacherous, and the fog made visibility near zero. No trace of Clara was found, no body, no belongings, not even a footprint. The only clue was the map, which Hollis kept in an evidence bag, though he wasn't sure why. Days turned into weeks. The town's interest waned, replaced by resignation. Clara Wren became another name in Greyhaven's ledger of the lost. But one person couldn't let it go: Juniper Blake, a local historian and Clara's closest friend. Juniper, in her late 40s with a sharp mind and a sharper tongue, had known Clara since she moved to Greyhaven 5 years earlier. They'd bonded over obscure books and late-night talks about the town's mysteries. Juniper wasn't convinced Clara had simply wandered off or drowned. She was searching for something, Juniper told Hollis, who sighed and suggested grief was clouding her judgment. Undeterred, Juniper dug into Clara's life. She visited the cottage, now sealed with police tape, and found a hidden compartment in Clara's desk. Inside was a journal, its pages filled with sketches of waves, cryptic notes, and references to the beacon. One entry, dated the day before Clara vanished, read, "The light moves at midnight. It's calling me. I know where to go now." Juniper cross-referenced the journal with town records. She found mentions of a beacon in old logs from the 1800s, described as a strange light seen offshore during storms. Sailors claimed it led ships to safety, or to their doom. The logs also mentioned a rocky outcrop, barely above water, at the coordinates Clara had circled on her map. It was called the Widow's Tooth, a place avoided by fishermen due to its deadly currents. Juniper convinced a reluctant fisherman, old Tom, to take her to the Widow's Tooth. The sea was calm. That night, the fog thinner than usual. At midnight, as Clara's journal had noted, a faint green light pulsed on the horizon, just above the water. Tom swore under his breath and refused to go closer, muttering about the curse. Juniper, undaunted, marked the spot and returned to shore. Back in town, she pored over Clara's journal again. One phrase stood out. "The way back is through the door that isn't there." It sounded like nonsense, but Juniper connected it to a local folktale about a portal in the sea, a gateway to another place, or time. The tale claimed the portal opened only under specific conditions: a clear night, a full moon, and the beacon's light. The next full moon was 3 days away. Juniper prepared, borrowing a small boat and equipping it with a GPS, a flashlight, and a waterproof bag for Clara's journal. She told no one, not even Hollis, knowing they'd think her mad. On the night of the full moon, she rowed out alone, the sea mirror smooth under a sky bright with stars. At the Widow's Tooth, the green light appeared again, stronger this time, shimmering like an aurora. Juniper anchored the boat and watched as the light seemed to ripple the water itself, forming a circular pattern, like a whirlpool of air. Her heart pounded. This was the door that isn't there. She hesitated, Clara's journal clutched in her hand. The logical part of her mind screamed to turn back, but the part that loved Clara, that believed in her, urged her forward. She rowed closer. The air grew cold, the light blinding. For a moment, she thought she saw a figure in the water. Clara, her dark hair floating like seaweed, her eyes wide and unafraid. Juniper reached out, and the world tilted. When she opened her eyes, she was back in her boat, drifting near the harbour. The Widow's Tooth was gone from sight. The light vanished. Her watch showed only an hour had passed, but her clothes were soaked, and Clara's journal was missing. Exhausted, she rowed to shore, her mind racing with questions. Hollis met her at the dock, alerted by Tom, who'd seen her boat leave. "You're lucky you didn't drown," he said. But Juniper barely heard him. She described the light, the figure, the strange sensation of time slipping away. Hollis listened, skeptical but troubled. He'd seen too much in Greyhaven to dismiss her entirely. Juniper returned to the cottage, hoping for answers. On Clara's desk, where the journal had been, she found a single wet page, not from the atlas, but handwritten. It read, "I found it, Juniper. Don't follow. The way back is closed." Years passed. Clara Wren was never found, her case filed, alongside Eli Cobb and Sarah Lyle. Juniper stopped talking about the beacon, the door, or the night at the Widow's Tooth. But on clear nights, she'd walk to the cliffs and stare at the sea, wondering where Clara had gone and what she'd found. The green light never appeared again, and the Widow's Tooth remained a silent, jagged shadow in the waves. Some in Greyhaven whispered that Clara had been taken by the curse, others that she'd chosen to leave. Juniper alone believed Clara had crossed into something beyond, a place the sea guarded fiercely. The truth, like Clara, remained out of reach, swallowed by the endless grey of the horizon.